Hi everyone, thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem and here is the news. For 228 days, Ukraine stands strong against the forces of the Russian invasion. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg informed that allies have provided Ukraine with 98% of combat vehicles promised to it, reports Slovo i Dilo. This includes 230 tanks and over 1,550 armored vehicles, as well as other equipment, including vast amounts of ammunition. He called the alliance's assistance to Kyiv unprecedented. According to Stoltenberg, NATO allies have also trained and equipped a total of 9 Ukrainian armored brigades. NATO Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, General Christopher Cavoli, believes that Ukraine is in a good position for a counteroffensive against the Russian invaders, reports Voice of America. The general said that the US military was working with Ukrainian colleagues on the possibility of a surprise attack for the enemy. Cavoli also said Russia's ground forces are larger today than they were at the beginning of the conflict, despite numerous losses in the war against Ukraine. According to him, the Air Force of Russia has lost only 80 planes and has another 1,000 fighters and fighter bombers. The Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe has recognized that the deportation and forcible transfers of Ukrainian children to the territory of Russia has evidence of genocide, reports European Pravda. The document says that the illegal deportation of Ukrainians from the temporarily occupied territories of Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast started before the beginning of the full-scale Russian aggression against Ukraine, when children from orphanages and disabled children were deported. The Parliamentary Assembly called upon the International Criminal Court to consider the possibility of criminal responsibility for this crime. The Assembly also supported the need for thorough recording, gathering, and assessment of evidence of this crime. In his evening video address, President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky said that the Assembly's resolution is the first recognition of this crime at the level of such a high international organization. He stressed that the deportation of Ukrainian children is one of the fully premeditated elements of Russia's attempt to erase the identity of Ukrainian people, to destroy the very essence of Ukrainians. Zelensky believes that this is a deliberate crime of genocide committed by Russian officials, and this is how it should be qualified both politically and legally. The Washington Post informs that Russia will be able to finance the war against Ukraine for at least another year, despite the sanctions, reports Ukrainska Pravda. According to the leaked documents of US intelligence from March, while not all of Russia's economic elites agree with the course of action taken in Ukraine and their business suffered because of sanctions, they are unlikely to withdraw support from Russian President Vladimir Putin. Moscow is relying on increased corporate taxes, its sovereign wealth fund, increased imports, and business adaptability to help mitigate economic pressures. The Washington Post emphasizes that the document does not take into account the impact of newly imposed sanctions, nor the long-term consequences of oil price ceiling being established in Europe. The assessment does not address other factors possibly affecting Russia's ability to fight, such as munitions cost and the need to recruit or conscript new soldiers. Ukraine hopes to raise $11 billion in external funding for the country's reconstruction by the middle of 2023, reports Interfax Ukraine. Finance Minister Serhiy Marchenko said the total recovery needs for this year, determined together with the World Bank, amount to $14 billion, of which $3.3 billion is already provided for in the state budget of Ukraine. He also informed that Kyiv plans to develop the national revenue strategy to go away from the current 50% dependency on external assistance. We would really appreciate if you could recommend us to your friends and family, as well as share information on social media. This way more people would learn about the podcast and truth about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.